Let's go ahead and start a new FANUC Teach Pendant program. We're going to start a program and then we are going to do a trace program. We are going to perform a trace on two squares on two different user frames. So in this lab, we will start from a home position, which I am currently at. We will trace this square on this user frame and then we will return to home. We will trace this square on this user frame and return to home to finish. So this will get us practice in switching user frames in our program. We should already know how to create them, but you may have to touch them up depending on what condition the lab was left in. And this will also get us a bunch of points to learn how to add points, touch up points, and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. If you are not on the select a program menu, if you are out, like let's say on home, you can come down here to the edit or the teach buttons and we can hit select. This brings up the programs that are currently on the FANUC. Down here you see I have a couple different options. If you are not seeing TP programs or you're only seeing MR programs, you can come over here and make sure you're on all. Because if someone filtered it out, so like if someone filtered out the macro programs, you're only seeing the MRs. So make sure you are on all if you're not seeing all of your programs. In this case, we're creating a new program. So we're going to hit our create button right here where we get prompted with a program name. Here I'm going to type the name of my program. Remember, we can use words, where right here we have program main sub. If we just wanted to do main program, we could use the function buttons here to enter letters as well, or we can come down here. I like the keyboard option. Remember, you'll be seeing a keyboard on your screen that you can use as the touch screen. I am just using my physical keyboard here. So let's go in here. Let's call this 2 square trace. It doesn't like when you put numbers in there, like the actual numerical number. That's why I typed 2 out right there. All right, so there's this. Let's click on details. So details is this is about our program. So our subtype is none, meaning we are a teach pendant. If I click on this and hit choice, you can see I can change to a macro. This none is just a standard teach pendant program. We can add a comment right here if we would like. Same option. We can say tracing to squares on different user frames. Hopefully it takes all that. Yep. You got a typo in there anyway. Oh yeah, so I didn't think it would take all that. So let's just do 2 different user frames. I'll just do 2 user frames. Okay, so the comment just says a little bit. Group mask. If you're following along the book, it's a little bit of confusion because they say to put a bunch of asterisks here, but you want a number 1 in the first slot. Write protect. We can leave that off. Ignore pauses, stack size. All the rest of this can remain the same. If we come to the top, we have the date it was created, the name, and we should be good. So if I hit end here, we are now entered into our program. We have entered into a program with 0 lines. It's just end. One of the first things we want to do is we want to add lines to our program. Remember, I'm on a little bit newer version, so I have this graphic here. You may see it in the list form. So I have it over here. But if on the bottom here, if you come to edit and insert, how many lines do you want to insert? Let's just throw 50 lines in there. So there we go. Now we have a place to work over here. So we have our program made. We have it called 2 square trace. We have 50 lines in here. Now it's time to start programming. So up here at the top, you always want to start with setting up the user and the tool frames. So when the robot starts, no matter where it was left, it knows where it needs to be. So up here at the top, I always start. Remember, gaps don't matter. I always start at 2. I don't know, just it leaves that space there. It's not crammed right up against the top. It doesn't matter. You could start at 6 if you really wanted to. So let's put in our instructions. Let's find frames, offset frames, and here we have U-frame number, tool frame number. So let's start with a U-frame. So we're going to work in U-frame 0. So that is a constant because it's just a constant number. And I'm going to type a 0. So we're going to start in user frame 0. That's world, right? Remember, world is down here at the base of the robot, and that is your XYZ. And now we need to set a tool frame. So in a previous video, we set this up for tool frame. You can always verify what tool frame you're in. Remember, if I hit shift chord, you can see now I'm in, the robot's currently in user frame 2, but I'm in tool frame number 2. So we can get out of there. So we need to do the same thing. Instruction, offset frames, tool number, a constant, and we're going to type a number 2. All right. So now we have our user and tool frame set up. Now we want to start adding points. I have already jogged the robot to a home position. That is save some time. So it is already where we want it. Remember, a home position is a neutral position between the 2 workpieces or whatever the robot is doing. You don't want the home position to be down here at this square and then it starts at home and then has to move over here. Here it can get quickly to either workpiece. So to add a point, we want to hit our arrow here because we want to change our function menu. And see, we have point and we have touch up. So I have it where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit point. The robot gives you a couple options. These are like the last quick setup options. We want to make sure we are in joint movements. So J, and then the rest of this, the speed, and fine. Not 100% important right now. I think we should all be programming, at least at this point, because we don't know what this means at the moment. We should just do J 100 fine. So there we go. I saved that position. You see my little @ symbol right here saying I am at that position. And I could come in here if I wanted to. If I came back up. Oop, okay, sorry, it's slow a little bit. If I hit my keyboard right here, I can put a comment in here. So see, now this is P1 home, and then the movement is 100%. You can see my P1 point has been added to my virtual space. So now I'm going to skip a couple more lines, and now we are going to come down here, and we are going to trace this square first. So I need to change my user frames again, because this is user frame 1. We can hit menu, setup, frames, and type or other, and user frames, and we can verify what that is. So my flat plate is 1, my angle plate is 2. So if we come back to our edit, we need to grab another instruction for frames right here. User frame, a constant, and we are starting with 1. We don't have to change tool frame because I didn't change the tool, right? So now I'm going to come down, and now I need to get the robot down here to this point right here. So I'll jog the robot down close to this point. I'll come back, and we'll move the robot around and make that first square. I got the robot down to this first square. So one of the most important things to note in our program here, we have switched to user frame 1. I jogged down here in world, right? So in coordinate, I'm in user frame 0 world mode. When I'm making my points down here, I have to make sure my tool and user frames match what my program is set to. So once I'm down here, the first thing I need to do is come in here and change my user frame to 1. That way, when I save all of my points, it saves it as user frame 1. If you forget to switch this and you go to run your program, it will throw an error and you'll have to touch all of those up. So I switched to user frame 1. Now pressing my coordinate button, I am going to enter user jog mode. So see, now I'm set up on my square here. And I got it pretty close to the first point. So what we want to do now on our program side is come down a line or two. And this will be our first square. So essentially all we're going to do is add some points here. So let's go ahead and add 0.1. And that's the start of our square. Since we are since we made that user frame, it's not going to take very long to maneuver around this, right? So I just need to give it some X. And I go to my next corner. And point. There we go. Simple as that. Now, give it some positive Y. And point. There's my next corner. Give it some negative X. A little bit more. Too much. Jogging a little too fast there. And there's my last corner. And point. So there's my 4 corners. Notice my trace line here almost just traced a U instead of a square. Well, what we can do here is instead of jogging back to this point, we can just hit point and add a new point and come in here and type a 2. So now we started on 2 and now we end on 2. Now see our square is complete right here. So there you go. You just traced a square on that user frame. So we're going to come down a couple lines of code here. I am going to reference user frame 0 because I'm going to go back to a home position. So I am going to go instruction. I am going to go offset in frames, user frame, and I'm going to do a constant and 0. Now, I don't have to try to jog my robot right back to that home spot because I made it up here, right? So I can just go ahead and add a position. I will just go and add a point, and I will renumber that point to be 1. And it is still my home position. So there we go. Now we're back up at my home position. So now we went home, we were home, we traced this square, we went back home. Now all we got to do is the same thing over here. I will get the robot back over there and trace that one, and that is our 2 trace program. All right, I'm actually back. I was getting ready to move the robot over to the second square. I thought of something I wanted to show you, and then my RoboGuide crashed. So a couple minutes later, but I wanted to show you, so I want to move over this other square. I jogged up in my world mode in my positive Z, and then I was getting ready to switch the joint and swing this robot around. But I actually had an idea that I wanted to use that I wanted to show. So if I come to menu and setup and frames, if I come to my user frame and go to my angled plate, hit details, I should be able to move to this origin like this. So if I shift, move to, so there we go. Look at that. So now it just moved to. Make sure you don't record. But move to, now I am over on that origin plane without actually having to jog the robot in that position. So now I can come back here to my edit. I can shift chord. I can change to user frame 2. I can change to user jog mode, and look at that. Now I am on that coordinate plane. So now it's just as simple as coming down a couple lines here, inserting a user frame for number 2, a constant for number 2, and making our points. So let's jog this robot around here. Let's do a little positive Z, or X, I mean. And let's save a point. Let's do some more positive X. And I'm checking my computer back there just to see. Recording the video and RoboGuide really puts a strain on it. So let's do some more positive X. And record a point. Perfect. Let's do some positive Y. And record a point. We could actually probably go a little further. Oh, it's close enough. And record a point. And one more. So let's come negative X. And record a point. And that's it. So now all of our points are made in space. So you'll notice as I finish off this program, I'm not moving the robot at all. So we want to close off that square, right? So I'll add a point and I'll call it number 6. Then we want to end at our home position. So down a line or 2, I am going to tell it the user frame. 0. And down a line or 2, I am going to move this robot to home by adding a point and changing the number to 1. There we go. That is our program. So let's see if that will run. You can see here, on RoboGuide, you can see actually where it will go. Let's cursor back up to the beginning of this and try to run it and see if we get any errors. So I'm going to turn my teach pendant off. Right, you remember you can keep your teach pendant on and hit and shift and forward is a nice way to step through your program. If you want to run it in automatic, turn your teach pendant off. I have a play button up here. You have the green button on the front of the controller. And let's hit this and see what happens. Okay, that's just a RoboGuide thing. Look at that. There we go. So there we go. We just traced 2 squares on 2 different user frames. Remember, the key thing is to switch user frames and make sure when you're setting your points, you are in the correct user frame. Remember, home position, you can make it once and then you can reference it as many times as possible. And same way with all of these other points. To close off our squares and things like that, always just reference back to a point you've already made. There we go. That is our 2 square trace on 2 different user frames. So go to either one of the first 2 robots, so the M10 or the 710. These 2 are going to be able to switch user frames like that.